Welcome back to Listify. Please help the channel by pressing the like button and subscribe.
Today we present some of the most terrifying home videos that are banned. Carla Homolka and her husband Paul Bernardo were two serial killers responsible for the killings of at least 3 minors in the early 1990s. At a family Christmas party, the couple drugged Homolka's sister Tammy, whom Bernardo had become obsessed with a few months prior. The couple sexually assaulted Tammy while she slept, and before she could regain consciousness, she choked on her own vomit and died. Although the local police were suspicious of the two, they decided to let them go, and the pair wouldn't be arrested until over 2 years later. In 1993, a highly discussed and talked about trial began where the couple were being tried on multiple charges. In order to ensure that Bernardo would spend the rest of his life in jail, Homolka agreed to a very controversial plea deal, where she stated that he was the main assailant of these murders and that she was just an unwilling accomplice. This led to Homolka receiving a reduced sentence of only 12 years for her crimes. However, it was around the same time that a videotape began to surface of the two committing one of these murders, and it was clear that Homolka had lied about her involvement in these acts, as the tapes clearly showed her attacking and sexually assaulting her victims. While the tapes were never released to the public, transcripts of the videos were, and the public were infuriated to learn that this killer had been given such a soft sentence. Even the couple's lawyer, who was the first ever person to watch the tapes, says that he plays them in his head every single day and that he was traumatized after watching them. Well, the tapes will never be watched by another person because they were destroyed in 2001, and no other copies exist. Unfortunately, their existence made pretty much no difference in the trial because even though the tapes incriminated Homolka, her plea deal, which became known as the Deal with the Devil, was still honored, and she was released from prison in 2005. In 1999, 2 high school students, Dylan Klebold and Eric Harris, murdered 13 people at their local high school in Columbine, Colorado. The massacre sparked numerous debates and was discussed all over America for several reasons, one of which was the large amount of documentation that the pair left behind. These included journal entries, blog posts, and more. In 1999, Time magazine released an article that stated there were 5 videotapes left behind by the pair that showed their preparations, ideas, and thoughts. These recordings became known as the basement tapes, and 2 of them were later released. One showed the pair shooting in a mountain range, and the other was a short film they created known as Hitman for Hire. The other 3 tapes were never released because of a court order, but transcripts of the tapes were released, and it was clear that the remaining tapes gave a substantial amount of insight into the minds of these killers as they discussed, prepared, and planned for their attack. There has been a lot of talk as to whether or not these tapes should be released, but as of now, the court order stands, and the tapes remain banned from the public eye. In 1996, Marilyn Manson created an experimental short film called Groupie that centered around a house party he threw where he invited a female actor to the event and filmed himself and several of his bandmates performing perverse sexual acts on the actress, including bondage, drinking urine, and more. The other partygoers did not know if the actress was an unwilling participant or a part of the performance, and were made uncomfortable by the strange things that she was told to do. The actual short film was only ever seen by 3 people: Manson's manager, Tony Kawilla, comedian Andy Dick, and Marilyn himself. Kawilla urged Manson to never release the piece to the public, as he feared that it could easily be used against him in a court of law. This was probably the reason the movie was never fully released, but segments of it were eventually released in later years. The fate of the short film remains unknown, but it's probable that it was destroyed due to its graphic nature. Manson's imagery has always been quite disturbing and graphic, so one can only imagine what must have been on this tape to stop its release. Anatoly Slivko was a Soviet serial killer who committed heinous crimes against young boys between 1964 and 1985. Slivko's disturbing actions stemmed from a traumatic event he witnessed in 1961, where a young boy died in a traffic accident, and Slivko experienced sexual pleasure from it. In an attempt to recreate this pleasure, he ran a children's club and convinced some boys to participate in an experiment. He would render them unconscious, strip them naked, arrange them in various positions, and videotape these acts for his own gratification. Tragically, Slivko accidentally killed his first victim in 1964, which fueled his desire for murder. He went on to kill 6 more young boys. While some of the video recordings were kept and later discovered, Slivko destroyed the initial tape and many others out of fear of being caught. These tapes are not accessible to the public, and there are additional hours of recordings that remain inaccessible due to court orders. Anatoly Slivko was arrested in 1985 and executed by firing squad in 1989. His crimes and the existence of the recordings serve as a chilling reminder of the depths of human depravity. Armin Meiwes, a convicted murderer, gained notoriety for his involvement in the disturbing online community known as the Cannibal Cafe. In 2001, Meiwes connected with a man named Bernd Brandes, who willingly wanted to be killed and eaten. They recorded a video where Meiwes cut off Brandes' penis and attempted to consume it. Meiwes then proceeded to kill Brandes by slitting his throat and spent the next 10 months consuming various parts of his body. The existence of these tapes caused outrage, but they were never released to the public due to their graphic nature. The tapes were held by authorities in Germany and are unlikely to ever be made public. David Parker Ray, also known as the Toy Box Killer, was an American serial killer who was suspected of murdering up to 60 people. He tortured his victims in a soundproof trailer that he called the Toy Box, which contained dozens of torture tools worth over $100,000. Before torturing his victims, he would play them an audio recording that detailed what he was going to do to them. Ray recorded many of these crimes, and several videos were discovered after his arrest in 1999. One of the tapes showed Ray torturing a young woman named Kelly Garrett, who had her throat slit and was left on the side of the road. Although she survived, no one believed her story until the police found the tapes. The tapes were never released to the public due to their disturbing and graphic nature. Ray died in 2002, shortly after his conviction. If you found this video interesting, may I ask if you could like this video? And if you want more, smash the like button and subscribe to our channel. We love you for it. It tells us you dig our stuff and we'll make more. Catch you in the next one.